Hey everybody, I want to talk a little bit about something that I fear, and I think everybody else should have a little bit of fear about this too. And one of the thing about Donald Trump's a very proactive kind of person. Trump is used to making decisions, and he makes decisions with a lot of with sometimes without a lot of thought. I mean, as you can see, sometimes when he makes the statements that he makes, he doesn't put a lot of thought into those statements. He just says stuff because he's quick to say stuff because that's the way he's used to interacting with people. You know, he's a businessman. He makes quick decisions. He's not going to wait around for people to to necessarily you know beat around the bush or anything like that. He goes right to the jugular. He goes right to the heart of the problem, and that's a good thing if you're in business and you're needing to make decisions, and somebody needs to be a leader, and that's what Trump is. But it's a bad thing when you start thinking about the long-term consequences of some of the things that he says. And probably one of the biggest problems I have with Trump is his feeling that maybe the internet's a little too free. In fact, I'll show you an article real quick about him. Um, and I've been thinking about this because I did something about Trump's attorney, Roy Cohn. And as I was doing a little bit of research about that, it went back to the McCarthy era with the anti-communism and the Cold War and all that. And see, that was as I was growing up. Everybody feared that we were going to get nuked. I literally remember as a child not wanting to get nuked before my eighth, seventh, or eighth grade. I wanted to get into middle school. I wanted to play football. I wanted to do all these things. And every night after school, I'd go home and I'd be worried about being bombed by the Russians because I was in such fear that we were going to get bombed any day by the Soviet Union because that's what was taught. We even did bomb training in school. We'd have to crawl underneath our desk in case there were fallout shelters. We were uh, uh, we would train about how to run Geiger counters and nuclear weapons and all. And that's just I grew up with that stuff. And now that's not any longer a threat. We don't think about it. In fact, there's like tons of money been spent, but it was just it just fizzled one day when they tore down the wall. But now it's a new threat. Now it's the Islamic terrorism, and that is the big threat. And I haven't even gone to Fox News today. I swear to God, I haven't gone to Fox News today. But if I go to Fox News, I'll bet they've got 3 or 4 articles about by ISIS. Sure it is. I didn't even look at this before this. So I just know by going to them, this is what they talk about so much of the time. Changing his tone, Trump vows to work with NATO to defeat ISIS. And then if you go down here a little bit, ISIS gets know nothing, recruits and rejoices. I didn't even go there today. I already knew that it was going to be that way because it's that way every single day. They talk about ISIS, and it's like I said in the video before about Donald Trump. Donald Trump's tactics is to keep his name in the news. Keep his name in the news. ISIS is in the news, on the news. It's on our minds all the time. We're always concerned about ISIS. But the problem is, I don't even know how you define ISIS. I mean, ISIS is Islamic terrorism, but anybody can be an Islamic terrorist. Even somebody that grew up in the middle of the United States of America and has never been to the Middle East can be a terrorist. It's anybody. So that scares me. When you can define somebody as anybody, then how do you, and this is what really scares me, and this is what Donald Trump says, if terrorists are using the internet, then we need to take away the internet. That's what Donald Trump said, the front runner to the Republican nominee for president of the United States, suggested last night at the final debate of the year. And I've heard him say this quite often. He says, if social media, if they're communicating through social media, we need to shut that down. If they're communicating through the internet, well, then we need to control it, shut that down. So that scares me about Donald Trump, that he has this mentality that we're just going to shut down this freedom that we have. You have weighing and balancing security versus freedom is a very fine line, and it's not one to be used, not one to be done, or one to be made quickly and in the rash, fashion that Donald Trump makes decisions. This is a real problem because the internet is probably the only thing that we have as a society that is going for this young age, this group of people that are growing up. I mean, there's so many things that they don't have, but they do have the ability to connect with one another. They do have the fair freedoms of the internet. And I do think we're freer today than we've ever been in the history of the world because of the internet. And to have somebody now monitor that because of threat of Islamic terrorism or something like that is a scary proposition, an extremely scary proposition. So if there's one thing I would say about Donald Trump, tread lightly about the internet. Don't go on about how you're going to shut it down or what you're going to do about it or stuff like that, because it's not to be trifled with. It's not to be shut down because somebody communicated with somebody else over a social media platform. You can't just say, okay, now we're gonna limit it, or we're gonna shut it down, and we're gonna go after people or something. You can't do that. If you do that, then you limit everybody, including me, in what I'm doing right now, which is just voicing my opinion. This is one of the greatest platforms we ever have in the history of the world, and to take it away would be a step back into a time that wasn't as good as the time we have today. So please, 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 this is something we need to really consider. And I don't know if I haven't heard Hillary talk about it as much as Donald, but I fear for Donald Trump in this respect. So many things I like about him, so many things I don't like about him. This is one of the things I really, really, really don't like about him. So anyway, that's my opinion. I mean, the internet is really fragile, and if you have a lot of people that are going to start think of the internet as some communication tool for terrorism who we can't even define because we don't know. They could be anybody, including our people that grew up with us. I grew up in the middle of America. I could have grown up with a terrorist. I don't know. I mean, who knows what somebody connects up with on the internet and does or anything like that. But that's for anything. That's for everything. You can't make the argument because somebody did that, then you got to limit it for everybody else. So anyway, that's what I got to say about it. Please, Donald, don't take the internet away. Don't even threaten to take it away. Don't even limit it in that respect, because that is going in a place that needs to expand, not go away. So there's other ways of dealing with it. So anyway, I appreciate you listening. Thank you very much.